Hello and welcome back to another lecture. In this lecture, we will use Terraform Module to request an SSL certificate from AWS Certificate Manager. We will use this SSL certificate to encrypt communication to our website. To start, the first thing I want you to do is open your project folder. Once you've opened your project folder, we will create a new folder in the Modules folder. Select the Modules folder and right-click on it. Then select New Folder. Call the folder ACM for AWS Certificate Manager. Once you've named the folder, press Enter. The next thing we will do is create 3 files in this folder. The first file is going to be main.tf, the second file is going to be variables.tf, and the third file is going to be outputs.tf. I'm going to right-click on the certificate folder and select New File. Give the file a name, I'll call it main.tf. Once you've given the file a name, press Enter. Right-click on the ACM folder again and create a new file. Call the file variables.tf. Once you've given it variables.tf, press Enter. Right-click on the ACM folder again and select New File. Give the file a name and call it outputs.tf. Once you've given the file a name, press Enter. We have created the 3 files we need to create our Terraform module. The first thing I want you to do is close the outputs file. Once you've closed the outputs file, the next thing I want you to do is drag this variables file to the right side of your screen and drop it there. So that way you'll split the screen. Next, I want you to download and open the reference file for this lecture in this video's description. This is the reference file we will use to create our Terraform module to request an SSL certificate. And in this reference file, I have included the resource type and arguments that we need. What I want you to do is select everything in this file. I'll select Ctrl A to select everything. Then I'll right click to copy. Once you've copied it, come back to your main.tf file and paste that syntax in there. Once you've pasted the syntax, you can close the reference file because we don't need it anymore. Then scroll up. I'm also going to close the Explorer to create more room on my screen. And you can drag this to the right a little bit. The first resource will allow us to request a public certificate from AWS Certificate Manager. This is the resource type to request a certificate, and this is the reference name I've given it. The first argument we will enter is our domain name. And this is the domain name we want to request a certificate for. To complete this part of this lecture, make sure you already have a domain name in your account. For example, if I go into the Management Console, in the Management Console, type Route 53 in the search box and select Route 53 under Services. On the Route 53 dashboard, select Hosted Zone. In the hosted zone, this is the domain name I want to request the SSL certificate for. So make sure you have a domain name already in your AWS account. Let's go back to our Terraform file. To reference the domain name in the main.tf file, the first thing we will do is create a variable for it. So in your variables file, we are going to create a variable for that domain name. To create the variable, we will type variable. And once you start typing variable, select this variable here to create the block. When you select it, it is going to create the variable block for you. Once you've created the variable block, the next thing you will do is give it a name, and we'll call this variable domain name. Once you've given the variable a name, press Enter. Then come to line 3 and press backspace to move this bracket up there. This is all we need to do to create a variable for our domain name. The next thing we will do is copy this variable name. To reference it in our main.tf file, we will type var dot the name of the variable and paste the name of the variable here. The next argument is subject alternative name. This is how we request an SSL certificate for our subdomain name. So for this, we will create a variable for it. In the variable file, let's copy this variable. Then paste it down here. Once you've pasted it, we'll modify the variable name We'll call the variable name alternative name. The next thing we will do is copy the variable name. Then in our main.tf file, we are going to reference that variable name. To reference the variable name, type var dot and paste the variable name there. When you enter the value for the subject alternative names, make sure you enter it like this. I made a mistake here by not adding the bracket, but I fixed it later on in the lecture. I want you to fix your code now before you get to that point. So when you enter the value of the subject alternative name, make sure you enter it in a bracket. Thank you. The next argument is validation method. This is how we validate that the domain name belongs to us. There are two ways you can validate that the domain name belongs to you. The first is using Route 53 and the second is by email. We will use the Route 53 option to validate that the domain name belongs to us. So for the validation method, type DNS in here in all caps. For the next argument lifecycle, create before destroy, type true. The next syntax is going to use data source to get the details about our Route 53 hosted zone. In order to use the domain name we just saw in Route 53, first we have to import that domain name into our Terraform file. This syntax will allow us to do that. This is a data source type to get the information about your Route 53 hosted zone, and this is the reference name I've given it. The first argument is name, and this is the name of the domain name we want to get the information. The name of the domain name we want to get the information is the domain name we used here. So to reference it, we will type var and the name of the variable, which is this. So copy this and paste it here. The next argument is private zone. For the private zone, type false. Once we have requested our SSL certificate, we have to validate that the domain name belongs to us. To validate that the domain name belongs to us, we are using the DNS method. For the DNS method, we have to create a CNAME in our Route 53 hosted zone to validate that the domain name belongs to us. This is the syntax we will use to create a record set in Route 53 to validate that the domain name belongs to us. So what I did is I copied this syntax from the Terraform documentation. Once you copy the syntax from the Terraform documentation, you don't need to change everything here. I'll show you what you need to change. The first thing we need to change is under for DVO, we need to change this to our SSL certificate resource. Remember we created our SSL certificate resource up here. So what you will do is copy the resource type and the reference name. Once you copy it, come back down here and paste it here. Then remove the double quote, add a period. Another thing you need to do is remove the /. Then also remove this /. Make sure there is a space between in and AWS ACM, and there isn't a space between ACM certificate and domain validation. Another thing we need to change here is whatever variable name you gave your domain name, you need to enter it here. So the variable name we gave our domain name is domain name, and that is what we entered here. Once you have entered this value, scroll down. The next argument you need to enter is your hosted zone ID. Remember we got the information of our hosted zone ID up here. So what you will do is copy everything here. Once you copy everything, come back down, paste it here. Then remove the quote, add a period. Remove the double quote here, add another period. Then come all the way to the end, add another period, and type zone ID. Make sure you type zone ID the same way you see it on my screen. It is zone_ID. Then let's scroll down. We will use this next syntax to validate the SSL certificate. This is the resource type to validate an SSL certificate, and this is the reference name I've given it. The first argument is certificate ARN, and this is the ARN of our SSL certificate. Remember we created our SSL certificate up here, so we'll copy the resource type and the reference name. Once you copy it, come back down, paste it here. Remove the quote here, add a period, then come all the way to the end, add another period, and type ARN. The next argument we will enter is the validation record. I have left everything the same way I copied it from the Terraform documentation. The only thing you need to change here is this value. We created our Route 53 record set here. So whatever name you gave it here, you need to copy this, resource type and reference name. Once you copy it, we will paste it here from the / to the /, paste it there. Once you paste it, remove the quote at the end, then also remove the double quote here, add a period, then remove the quote in the beginning. This is what it should look like. Make sure there's a space between in and AWS Route 53, and also make sure there's a space here. This is all we need to do to create our SSL certificate. Once you've created your syntax, save your file. I'll select File and select Save All. I'm going to drag this here. Then I'm going to open the Explorer. The next thing I want you to open is your outputs.tf file. Select your outputs.tf file. In your output.tf file, we will create our outputs that will export our domain name and the ARN of our certificate. Those are the two values we need to export so we can reference them when we create other resources. To create our outputs, first type output. Then once you start typing it, select this autocomplete to create the output block. Once you've created the output block, give it a name. The first output we will create is for our domain name. So type domain name there. Once you type the name of your output, come down here and we will type value. Once you type value, press space, add an equal sign and space again. The value we want to export is our domain name. We use variable to create our domain name, so to export it, we will type var dot the name of the variable, which is domain name. So copy this and paste it here. This is all we need to do to export our domain name. The next output we will create will export the ARN of our certificate. So I want you to select this, copy it, then come back down, paste it here. We are going to modify the name of the output. Call the name of the output certificate ARN. I'm going to remove this and type certificate ARN. Once you've typed the name of your output, we are going to modify the value. We will use this output to export the ARN of our certificate. So let's go back to our main.tf file. Scroll up. This is the resource we use to create our SSL certificate. So all you need to do is copy the resource type and the reference name. Once you copy it, come back to your outputs file. For the value, we are going to replace this with the resource type we just copied. Once you replace it, remove the quotes, add a period, come all the way to the end, add another period, and type ARN. This is all we need to do to create our Terraform module for the SSL certificate. Save your file. I'm going to click File and select Save All. Once you've saved your file, let's close the outputs.tf file, and we can also close the main.tf file. For now, we will leave the variables.tf. The next thing we will do is use this module to create our SSL certificate. To do that, I want you to select your project folder up here. My project folder is called Jupyter Website ECS. I'll select it. Once you select it, first let's select our main.tf file. Once you open the main.tf file, I want you to take your variables.tf and drag it here and drop it there. I'm going to drag this out to create more space. In your main.tf file, which is the main.tf for your project, scroll down. Down here, we will reference the module. To reference the module, press Enter twice, and we will type module to create the module block. Once you type module, press module here to create the module block. The next thing we will do is give the module a name. We'll call the module ACM. Once you've given the module a name, remember the first argument you enter here is source. And this is how you tell Terraform the module you want to reference. So here, we are going to type source. Once you type source, press space and equal and space again. Then we will specify the path to the module we want to reference. To specify the path to the module we want to reference, we are going to type double quotes and 2 periods. The 2 periods means we are going up 2 directories. So right now, we are in the Jupyter website ECS folder. We are telling Terraform to go up 2 directories, which is out of this Jupyter website ECS folder and into this modules folder. That is what these 2 dots mean. Then enter /. The next thing we will type is the name of the folder we are going in, which we called modules. So type modules in here. Once you type module, enter another /. And the name of the folder in that module we want to reference is ACM. So here we will type ACM. This is all we need to do to reference our Terraform module. Remember, anytime you are referencing a Terraform module, any variables that was created in that module, you need to specify those variables here. So we'll press enter. The first variable is domain name. So we'll copy the domain name here and paste it here. Once you paste it, press space, =, and space again. The next variable is alternative name. Copy it and paste it here. Once you paste it, press space, =, and space again. The next thing I always like to do is arrange my =, under each other. So press the tab key to arrange your =, under each other. Once you've arranged the =, under each other, for the domain name, the value is going to be var domain name. Because this is a new variable, so how we enter it in our Terraform module is var dot the name of the variable, which you can copy this and paste it here. For the alternative name, we will do the same. Because this is a new variable, we will type var dot and the name of the variable, which we paste here, copy this and paste it here. This is all we need to do to reference the ACM module. Once you've done that, there are 2 extra things you must do. Because these are new variables, you must enter them in your variables.tf file in your project folder and also the terraform.tf vars. So for now, let's select the variables.tf file. In the variable.tf file for your project, copy these variables here and paste them here. That's all you need to do. Once you've added the variables in the variables.tf file, the next thing we will do is modify the terraform.tf vars. Select the terraform.tf vars. In here, we will also do the same. So here, press enter and we will add the first name, which is domain name. Paste it here. Press the =, and press enter for now. And let's add the second one, which is the alternative name. Copy it and paste it here. Once you've pasted, enter the =. The next thing we need to do is enter the actual value of this variable. This is the domain name you want to request your SSL certificate for. Remember, I showed you in the AWS Management Console. I'll go back to the AWS Management Console. In the AWS Management Console in my Route 53 hosted zone, this is the domain name I want to request the SSL certificate for. I'll select it and press Ctrl+C to copy it. Then I'll go back to my Terraform file. For the value, in double quotes, paste it there. The next value we need to enter is for the alternative name. The alternative name is how we request an SSL certificate for our subdomain name. To enter the value, all you have to do is type double quotes, then type star. Once you type star, type period, and paste your domain name next to it. This is how you request an SSL certificate for your subdomain name. This is all we need to do to create the SSL certificate. The next thing I want you to do is save your work. To save it, I'll select File and select Save All. Once you've saved your file, let's close some of this. I'll close the terraform.tf vars. I'll close the variable, and I'll also close this variable here. Next, we are going to use Terraform to create the SSL certificate in our AWS account. To do that, I want you to right-click on your project folder name. Then select Open in Integrated Terminal. Make sure you right-click on your project folder name and open it in the Integrated Terminal. This will open the terminal to the directory of your project folder. Once you've opened the terminal, the first command we will type is Terraform init. Once you type Terraform init, press enter. There you go, we have successfully initialized with our AWS environment. Once you have initialized with your AWS environment, the next command we will type is Terraform apply to create the SSL certificate. I'm going to type Terraform apply. Once you type Terraform apply, press enter. We have an error in our code, and reading the error message, it says incorrect attribute value type. Terraform also tells you where that error is located. It is telling you the error is located in the modules folder, ACM folder, and the name of the file is main.tf. The line where the error is located is line 4. The resource where the error is located is the AWS ACM certificate, and the argument is the subject alternative name. Also, when you read the output, it says inappropriate value for attribute subject alternative name, and it is saying it should be set of string. I know what that means. So let's go back to our modules, just like Terraform told us, modules, ACM, main.tf, and select the main.tf. In the main.tf, line 4, subject alternative name. Terraform wants us to change this to a set of string. So anytime you see a set of string, it means you have to have a bracket around it. So let's put a bracket here and come to the end and put another bracket. That's all we need to do. Anytime a value is a set of string, you need to put it in a bracket. Once you've done this, save your file. Once you have saved your file, come back to your terminal again. In your terminal, first we are going to type Terraform init. Once you type Terraform init, press enter. We have successfully initialized again. Then type Terraform apply. Once you type Terraform apply, press enter. And there you go, the error is gone. Terraform is showing us the plan of the resources it will create in our AWS account. Here you will see Terraform will create 4 resources, and you can review those resources up here. Once you've reviewed the resources, scroll back down. Terraform is asking you, do you want to perform these actions? We will type yes and press enter. And there you go. Terraform is now creating the SSL certificate in my AWS account, and we'll give it some time to finish creating it. Terraform has finished creating the SSL certificate in my AWS account. Let's go to our AWS account to verify that the certificate is there. In the management console, type ACM in the search box and select Certificate Manager under Services. In the Certificate Manager console, click the menu here and select List Certificates. On this page, you will see the status of the certificate is issued, and under domain names, these are the domain name we requested the certificate for. Under CNAME, you will see the CNAME we used to validate that this domain name belongs to us. Take note of the CNAME, and let's go to Route 53 to verify that this CNAME is there. I'm going to type Route 53 in the search box. Then select Route 53 under Services. In the Route 53 dashboard, select Hosted Zone and select your domain name. And there you go. In our domain name, under Records, you'll see the CNAME here. If you look, this is the value of the CNAME, and you can see it says ACM Validations AWS. This is how we use Terraform module to create an SSL certificate. The next thing I want us to do is go back into our Terraform code and push the update to our GitHub repository. I'll go back to my Terraform code. In my Terraform code, to push the update to my GitHub repository, I'm going to select source control here. Then we will type a message. I'm going to type create ACM. Once you type the message, click this check mark to commit it. And once you have committed, click sync changes to push it to your GitHub repository. We have successfully pushed the code to our GitHub repository. Let's go to our GitHub account to verify that it is there. In your GitHub account, click this icon to go to the home page. On the home page, we will select the Terraform Modules repository. In the Terraform Modules repository, select Modules. And here you'll see the ACM we just created. If you select that folder, in it you'll see the main.tf, outputs.tf, and variables.tf. This is how we use Terraform module to create an SSL certificate, and we validate the SSL certificate using DNS method. If you have any questions or there's any part of this lecture you don't understand, please leave your comments below. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye.